It seems that Paul's actual skill as a speaker, at least on some occasions, was less than what we imagined. Certainly it seems like it was less what he wanted it to be or what he would have hoped it was. The point is, maybe even these preaching supermen weren't quite as much supermen as we think they were. But maybe more importantly, when we think we've got to be the ones doing the persuading, we're actually misplacing the power. The power to change people's lives is not in the method or the skill of the speaker. After all, we're not trying to convert people to become our disciples. The power is in the gospel. That's what Paul says in Romans 1 and verse 16. I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, the Jew first and also to the Greek. That is, the power is in the message. The power is not in the speaker. I love the way Paul puts it in 2 Corinthians 4 and verse 7, where he says, we have this measure in earthen vessels. That is, it's just ordinary people doing this. Why? That the exceeding greatness of the power may be of God and not from ourselves. You get to feeling sick, and that sickness has hung around with you for a few days, and you begin to realize this is probably not going to get better on its own. So you go to the doctor, he examines you, and he writes you a prescription to get some medicine. You take that prescription then to the pharmacist who fills it, and they give you a bottle of medicine, a bottle of pills. Let me ask you a question. Is it the bottle or the contents of the bottle, the medicine, that makes you well? We know the answer to that. It's the medicine, right? It's the pills. It's the serum that's in the bottle. Consequently, I don't really care what the bottle looks like. I don't care about the color. I don't care about the material. I don't care if it's scratched up. I just need the medicine. The same is true with the gospel. You and I, we're the earthen vessels. We are the bottle that is transporting or ought to be transporting the gospel to people. It does not matter that our method is not the greatest. We ought to be as effective as we can be, don't get me wrong. But it doesn't matter that maybe we're not as knowledgeable or as eloquent. What matters, and there are spiritual ideas in the Bible that maybe aren't as explained as we would like them to be, so that we're kind of left with some questions and some uncertainty. What exactly is heaven going to be like, for example? I don't know. Not exactly. There's the truth that none of us knows the Bible perfectly. But when it comes to what we need to know and do to be right with God, the Bible and the gospel are incredibly simple. So simple that very often one lesson was enough. Pentecost. For in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Galatians 6 and verse 9. Don't make the task more complicated than it is. Sometimes also I think we have a basic misunderstanding of the need. That is, don't we live in a Christian nation? Or isn't it the case that we at least live in the Bible Belt? Don't most of the people around us, don't they already identify as Christians? Aren't they still good people? What need is there really for evangelism around us? Well, we open the pages of the Bible and we find that goodness doesn't save. Keeping in mind, first of all, that no one reaches that true definition of goodness. There is none. God's word tells us, not every one that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy by thy name, and by thy name cast out many demons, and by thy name do many mighty works? And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. Many are going to be dismayed when they stand before Jesus because they thought they were serving him. But in truth, he never knew them. And please don't think of me this morning as Romans 10 and verse 4. Everyone around us will be lost without the gospel. And no one around us will receive the gospel without someone sharing it. How shall they hear without a preacher? See, evangelism is necessary even in the Bible Belt. Sometimes we have that basic misunderstanding of who should be involved. That is, we've got that attitude of, well, somebody else will do it. That's the preacher's job. I mean, after all, we refer to him sometimes as the evangelist. Evangelism is in his job title. He can do it. Granted, yes, the preacher does have the responsibility to be involved in evangelism. I would say it's even fair to expect him to be more involved than most. The command is for all Christians. The example is for reproduce faith in others. All in the night by a vision, really capable of doing. Into the outer darkness. He's reasoned with them from the Scriptures. What's he doing? He's going to the else. It is understandable to love nothing more than to do that.
At this time, and our last Brother Jason Horner to come forward at this time.